how do you encourage and lead leaders to reconnect with this wisdom, this timeless wisdom, especially those who are maybe in a season of reinventing themselves, whether it be a company or individual?
We have a blueprint that was given to us by Solomon. Solomon explained exactly what we need for wise decision making. In today's world, it's so difficult to get down to the truth.
So how do you recognize and feel confident that it is the truth?
Education. We have a lot of smart people that can't make good decisions. United, their stock fell drastically after they made the silliest decision of any company that's ever made a decision.
Welcome to the Sock Door Podcast, where life is messy, but we always find meaning in it. Every week, we pull out the stories, the lessons, and the hidden gems. And then we ask the big question, keep it or kick it? If you're ready for real talk, brave steps forward. I'm your host, Lisa Begley, and you're listening to the Sock Door Podcast. Let's jump right in. Oh, hello, listeners. Have you ever felt that you were constantly solving problems, but never actually rising above them? What if real leadership and real reinvention, it wasn't about fixing what's broken, but about becoming someone who elevates solutions above the noise? That's kind of the heartbeat of today's conversation, and I think you're going to see yourself somewhere in Tony's story. Sock Door family, welcome. Today, I'm so excited to introduce you to Tony Boquet, an accomplished business coach, author, and international speaker who has spent more than 43 years helping people grow into wiser, more value-driven leaders. Tony's background spans the financial services world, where he has served as vice president and adjunct instructor at the American College of Financial Services. He's earned a long list of professional designations, but what really defines Tony, I feel like even more than his calling, is his calling to help people lead with clarity and compassion and conviction. He is the author of The Bloodline of Wisdom. I'm excited to get into that. The Awakening of a Modern Solutionary. It's a modern-day fable inspired by King Solomon's legendary wisdom. Through story, Tony explores how timeless truths can still guide us through modern chaos. And believe me, we know we're all experiencing a little bit of modern chaos. When Tony's not speaking or mentoring, Tony's a husband of 46 years, a proud grandfather, martial arts instructor, and motorcycle enthusiast. He's also the founder of the Modern Solutionary Society. It's a community built around his philosophy of choosing solutions over problems and wisdom over noise. Tony, wow, talk about reinvention. Welcome to the Sock Door Podcast family. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me. It is truly my pleasure.
Thank you so much. Well, I want to dive right in. I know we talked a little bit about this before we hopped on. I'm anxious to hear, and there's so much, but I was sort of struggling with where do we even begin, but really piqued my interest was this coined word that you have called solutionary, and someone who raises, if I have this right, and please let me know, raises solutions above the problems they solve. So where did that idea first come from? Let's dive in there.
Well, that was a brainchild of necessity, in my opinion.
Okay, how so?
I never liked the term or the phrase problem solver. And the reason I didn't is, at least in my mind, we always elevate the problem. And we don't need the problem to be bigger than the solution. So I looked I looked in every thesaurus, every dictionary, trying to find a word that could replace problem solver in the same kind of context, but more of a positive spin on it. And I couldn't find anything. So I used the play on words similar to a visionary who has the vision needed to solve future issues. I developed the word a solutionary and
Love
tacked
it.
on the term modern, because I believe Solomon was the first solutionary, the first person who solved problems in a selfless manner
Mm,
through certain principles. So I give him credit for being the first solutionary.
love
And
it.
then I created the word. And back in '09, when I started using the word in business, you Googled it and you got 0 hits. I mean, we can't get 0 hits on anything today on the
So
internet.
true.
And I actually got 0 hits on the word
Wow.
solutionary. So after that, I started using it. I wrote the book. I coined the word in all of my speaking around the world. And now today, if you Google solutionary, you get millions of hits. They
Yeah.
don't always, they're not always applied in the correct format, but they do
Yeah.
use it. And that's what words are for, is to be used. So
Of
I'm
course.
happy to say that I contributed to our communication skills through the years.
I love that. And didn't you tell me also that at some point it's going into officially be in the Merriam-Webster dictionary?
Yep. According to what I've been told, within the next 2 years, it'll probably appear in the dictionary.
So good. So good.
Yes.
I love that. Well, you mentioned King Solomon, and I would love to kind of jump in there. I don't want to, jump all over the place, but let's, tell me a little bit about your book, King Solomon's Bloodline. It's a lineage of wisdom passed through generations. What brought you to that discovery and deciding to go with that and in authoring your book?
Well, that goes back to my childhood,
Okay.
really. And I never wanted to write a book, much less a book that is about me. So, but I had a lot of stories I was using at the time
Mm-hmm.
in my public speaking, and people would tell me you got to capture that and put it in writing. But I never wanted a book, much less a book about me. So back when I was a child, my mother raised 8 children. Well, my mother and father, but my mother more so was, in my mind, was a great problem solver. She
Mm,
was very wise. Whenever we'd gather around the table as children, if we were talking about a friend or a family member that got into trouble, my mother always used the same words. They didn't make a wise decision.
mm,
And that stuck with me as a child. And then she also brought us together one time. She was married to an alcoholic the first time. She was married twice. The first husband had problems with alcohol, and
mm,
she told the kids because of her decision, we all would suffer
mm.
because of his presence in our life. And that stuck with me as well. That her decision, a person that I held as extremely wise, she admitted making a mistake, and she also revealed that it was her mistake that we would have to carry some pain for.
Wow. So
Yeah,
she recognized that trauma
she did.
that's infused into our children so
Yeah,
early on. That's amazing.
it was.
Yeah.
And it also gave me an opportunity to reflect as a young now as a younger man, back then, when I did get to be, 18, moved out on my own, started my own family, I carried that with me. That how would I live up to those expectations? I was nowhere near as wise as my mother. I'm still not as wise as she was, I believe. But how would I do that? And as I grew older and older, and as I started to understand more about decision making and the process that we live with,
Yeah.
I started to reflect back on mom, and it was my mother that was kind of the inspiration for King Solomon because, of course, I was always told King Solomon was the wisest man that ever lived. So I wanted to delve into him as a person, not necessarily as a Jewish king or a Jewish spiritual leader, but as a person. So I read a lot of books written by all kinds of people, some pagans, some that were leaders of different peoples around that area. And I wanted to learn what they said about this special guy
Yeah.
because he was special. He was very intelligent. We know he could read and write 6 languages at
Wow.
16 years old. Back then, that was unheard of. If you could read and write one language, that was amazing back then.
Hmm.
So he was an architect. He built things. He created poems. He wrote a lot of spiritual literature. He did many, many things, but his biggest accomplishment was the 40 years of his reign were the peacefulest 40 years in Jewish history.
Wow.
So the Jews have a history of a little over 5,700 years, and they've never been at peace for longer than Solomon's reign
Mm,
of 40 years.
mm,
That tells you a lot about the people, about their struggles, and about what this special man had to be able to do to stop the wars
yeah.
and stop the fighting 40 years.
40
That
years.
that's amazing.
That's powerful. Leadership, it sounds like his leadership really did evolve. I wonder if you can bring this into today in a world that moves so fast around us. In your thought, how can people reconnect with such a timeless wisdom? Or how do you encourage and lead leaders to reconnect with this wisdom, this timeless wisdom, especially those who are maybe in a season of reinventing themselves, whether it be a company or individual?
Great question, Lisa. I've studied that myself for
Okay.
my personal development
Yeah.
for a long, long time. But we have a blueprint that was given to us by Solomon.
Tell me more.
Solomon explained exactly what we need for wise decision making. It comes from 3 sources, but there again, he has caveats. It's not just any source, it's 3 trusted sources. You have to trust the content. And the content comes from education. And in today's world, we're more educated than we've ever been in human history. Experience, whether it be your experience or the experience you gain from a mentor who's lived those experiences, him or herself. And then the final element of knowledge comes from what Solomon called the precepts of discernment. But in today's world, that's ethics and morals, the ethics and morals of our values, what we value. You can't have, for instance, an ethical decision will never be from a lie. It has to be true for it to be ethical. Well, the same thing can be said for any situation, any problem we face. We have to get to the truth before we can do anything else. So you have to know the truth from a trusted source, education, experience, and your moral values, ethical values. And then you have to apply it selflessly. That's the kicker. We have to apply it in a selfless manner because every problem we face will impact the lives of 3. The act will or the problem will touch 3 groups of people every single time. If
Mm,
you're in business, it'll touch you, it'll touch your employees, and it will touch your clients. Every problem you face. And that's true of any kind of personal problem, any kind of business problem. So if you know the truth from education, experience, and you have the right values, and you apply that truth in a selfless manner, you will normally get the right decision.
mm,
What most people do is we don't search for the truth enough, and
mm,
they make a decision not based on the truth. Well, if you don't have the truth, you can't have the right solution. You may have a solution. Solomon says there were 3 solutions to every problem: the right solution, the wrong solution, and the acceptable concession. We tend to go toward that acceptable concession. We know what's wrong.
Yeah.
Solomon believed we always knew the wrong decision. We knew it instinctively. That was built into us.
Yeah.
So you know what's wrong and you know what's right.
Yeah.
But a lot of times what's right might not give you enough pleasure. What's wrong is going to give you more pain. So you're not going to take the wrong road to stay away from the pain. And maybe you want more pleasure than the right decision is going to give you. So you do what Solomon called, you find an acceptable concession somewhere in the middle. That's where most of us fall.
Okay. And that, I mean, I feel like it's doable, but more difficult than it sounds.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
because it's sometimes so hard. You're digging in, you're waiting for answers, you're maybe leaving it to faith or you're researching. And this is curious to me when you're researching or you're digging in to find the truth. Do you have a process or a recommended stages and steps to find the truth? Like, how do you said it has to come from the right source or it has to be some trust? How do you know that though? Like, sometimes you trust, but then you get burnt. So, how do you recognize and feel confident that it is the truth?
That is the golden nugget, Lisa.
Well,
Because
give it to us, Tony.
in today's world, it's so difficult
Yeah.
to get down to the truth.
Yeah.
We live in a time, as I said earlier, we live in a time when we're more educated. We know more stuff than ever before, yet we're making fewer wise decisions than we ever made as a people.
So
And the
good.
reason for that is twofold. One, we don't value experience enough. The average person by the time they leave college and reach the age of 30, they're going to hold 8 jobs in today's world. There's no experience built. That person doesn't build the experience needed to solve problems. Some companies roll their employees out of the system and have very small tenure in their workforce. Well, businesses are where problems are solved. Every business that you ever think of, every business exists for only one reason. They're going to supply a problem, a solution to a problem that I have that I can't solve myself. So if I'm a plumber, if I have a clogged drain and I'm not a plumber and I don't know where to start, I hire a plumber to come fix my drain.
Yeah.
I have a problem. I can't fix it myself. The same thing with a doctor. Your child has a fever, you don't know what's the problem, you bring them to a doctor. So every business exists for only one reason. They solve a problem or a want that I can't solve by myself. I need to pay somebody to do it.
Okay. Okay.
Well, if business isn't keeping people, they're the ones that create the solutions to the problems that I can't fix on my own. If they're not keeping the people, they're not building experience, they're making decisions based on only one source of knowledge, education. We have a lot of smart people that can't make good decisions. The biggest thing that comes to mind is a few years ago, United, their stock fell drastically after they made the silliest decision of any company that's ever made a decision. They decided to pull 5 passengers off a plane to put a crew that needed to be 300 miles away, and they didn't pay the people enough to make them happy. So
Mm.
when this got out, the the company crumbled. Their stock fell unbelievably fast.
Okay.
That was a poor decision because they could have done many, many other things to get their people to that spot
Yeah.
that wouldn't have harmed the company at all. So that was one person that made a very stupid decision that cost the company tons of money,
Yeah.
and they're still not
Interesting.
over it. So every decision we make will impact those three groups. The depth of that impact is based on whether it's the wrong solution, the right solution, or the acceptable concession.
I was just going to say there's got to be a gray area. There's got to be some compromise depending on what solution is trying to be reached. Would you agree with that?
There's no negotiating. There'll always be one right answer. Always.
Okay, give me more on that.
Most people think that a right answer will not cause pain.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be pain and it still be the right decision. For instance, if I'm an alcoholic and I decide to quit drinking, I might go through withdrawals. It may be terrible for me
Mm-hmm.
for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the right thing to do. So most people, the right decision. We know it instinctively. We don't want the pain. That's the reason we don't pick that right choice.
Okay.
So every decision we face,
Yeah.
every one of them, there is a right decision. There's definitely the wrong decision. I mean, we all know that.
Right.
You don't go play in the street when there's a lot of traffic.
Right.
Everybody knows that you don't do that.
Right.
So there's no debate over that. The acceptable concession
Yeah. Tell me
isn't
more.
to help pain or pleasure. The acceptable concession is our fault of not wanting to accept the right decision.
Mm.
We don't want it. A lot of people live lies, and they
Mm-hmm.
live their entire life based on principles or based on false information, and they live their entire life that way. So when they know the truth, they don't change because that means I got to change how I'm living.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
So we're talking more in the personal realm, right? And I know
Or
that
professional.
bring me into the professional. And that you've said, the real price of leadership is loneliness, weariness, abandonment. That's such an honest statement because it can be so true. What experiences have you found out there or examples that have taught you this truth?
I learned that the hard way, Lisa, that,
Okay.
those are the best lessons,
Yeah,
when
it's true.
when those pains get there, it's the best lessons. I was a young manager. I was put into management at 23 years
Mm,
old. I was the youngest manager this company of over 100 years of experience. I was their youngest manager at 23 years old. Not well, did if you looked at the numbers and if you looked at their stats,
yeah.
I did amazing. I did amazing.
So when you say it didn't work out well, what is the context to that? What are you referring to?
It's more than just the numbers in any job or any
Yeah.
business. It's more than just the numbers. I didn't know that, or I didn't want to see that. I knew how to make money. I knew how to make people successful. That's what made me a good leader for that company. But I was willing to do a lot of things that I shouldn't have done. I'd work 15-hour days, many, many, many days. I would push my people to work hellacious hours.
Yeah.
I would demand them do work grueling amounts of time
Mm,
to get the job done, to get the results. One day for Christmas, we were having a Christmas party, and one of my team members called me into the conference room. I had 6 managers reporting to me at the time. And there was 6 of them around the conference room table, and in the middle of the conference room table was a wrapped gift. And they said, "This is for you." I opened the gift. It was the Personal Power video cassette library by Tony Robbins. This was before I became a lifelong learner. I thought I knew it all, Lisa.
Yeah.
I thought I had the world by the tail.
Yeah. We've all been there.
But these six people looked at me over a Christmas gift and said, "If you don't complete this 30-day program, we are all giving our termination letter. We are all walking out."
That's powerful.
Because
That's huge.
yes, and they were not joking.
Yeah,
Lisa.
I bet.
They were serious.
Yeah.
They said, "We love you as a person, but as a leader, you do crazy things.
Yeah.
And that has to change." They said to make sure you do it,
Yeah.
because they didn't
And
believe that
don't
I'd
come
do
back
it.
until you do.
They said, "We will take this course with you." And some of these men and women drove over 2 hours to get to the office to make sure that I took this course. So that told me they cared deeply about me, and they could benefit from this material as well.
Yeah. Well,
But we completed that,
yeah.
and it changed my life after that.
Amazing.
I was not the same person. I still got great results. I was still very effective. I'll say I was more effective because I thought about others more than I thought about the numbers. And before that, it was strictly number driven.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting you say that, because I recently was with a company that had a 23-year-old CEO. And it seemed the opposite. It seemed that definitely they cared. The culture was struggling. And it seemed, what would you say, working with a company with that in mind, having, I would think, some empathy for a 23-year-old leader. Now, it sounds like you had a good handle on people at that point and building culture. And, in today's world, culture is such a, a huge, important piece of people wanting to go to a company to work, wanting to stay at a company to work. All of that is such powerful things in today's world. We didn't even think about that back when we were in our 20s. That didn't seem to be a thing quite as much. But if you were working with a company that had a young leader such as yourself back then, but they were all over the place, and all that mattered or seemed to matter were the numbers. The culture was really in a kind of a rough patch. What would you recommend? What would you say to them?
I wrote a tremendous amount of articles on this topic throughout the decades. And one of the things that I've always struggled with in today's society, when they use the word culture, it has so many connotations.
Yeah. True.
That you could have. One of the things that builds the best culture in a business is when leadership understands and recognizes that every one of us, have three personas, three different lives, if you will. We have a personal life, a professional life, and a spiritual life. Even the people that aren't spiritual or aren't religious, they have a spiritual life. They may not see it, but it's there.
Okay.
Because if they have trouble in their life, they're going to automatically turn to whatever God that they need. So every one of us has a personal, professional, and spiritual life. We cause an imbalance in our workforce when we don't understand that. In other words, when I work, I'm working for the company, but I'm also working to pay for my family, and I'm also working to do my God's will. When I'm with my family, I'm recharging my batteries for work. And again, I should be being with my family, answering the call of my God at the same time. When I pray or when I spend time in spirituality, I'm doing that to make me a better employee and a better family man. That's how we get to a perfect balance in our life. You have to be the same person personally, professionally, and spiritually. If you're not the same person,
Mm-hmm.
you're always going to be out of balance. Your body has a mind, body, and soul. We don't have control over that.
Yeah.
That's who we are as a people. So we have to be able to deliver that balance. Whenever a culture is out of kilter, I can usually almost
Pinpoint it.
bet,
Yeah.
yeah, I can almost guarantee you that one or two of those things are completely out of kilter.
From the leadership or as a whole, the company as a whole?
As the leader goes, so does the company.
Got it. So
The old Peter Drucker saying, nothing happens without leadership. And that is a true statement.
so true.
But leadership can also cripple a company, but nothing happens without leadership's approval or their less than stellar approval, should I say.
Okay. I like it. It's so true because it kind of reminds us that wisdom, I guess, it's not ancient. It's practical,
Yeah.
right? And it's in the quiet choices that we make every day, bringing those three parts of our lives together that matter. I think, and we lose sight of that. I believe,
These are natural laws,
Yeah.
and that's what Solomon brought to my life. If you notice, everything I've mentioned were built on the number three. Solomon was intrigued with the number three. He believed that three was how we solve problems as a human race. And I'm like him now. I believe it to be true because there's too many things, too many laws are tied to this. For instance, everything we think, we end up saying, and everything we say, we end up doing, you know? So thought, word, and deed, that's a law. That's tied to the human ability. We have to think it first, we have to talk about it to make sure we get it right, and then we got to do it. So these are natural laws that help us. They're in place to help us make the right choices and to help us understand. You were just saying, we were just talking about culture. What you believe, what you think, you will believe, and what you believe, you will become.
Yes.
And if it's a negative thought
Mm-hmm.
or if it's a negative
Yep.
connotation that you're thinking, you're going to become. Your belief is going to be negative and your outcome will be
Yes.
negative. There's no, you can't change that, Lisa.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
that is what leaders usually miss. And I blame HR for
Mm-hmm.
this. Human relation departments don't get this
Yeah.
themselves. You have to have a positive atmosphere. And that positive atmosphere can't be fake. It can't be based on lies. It has to be based on truths. If it's not truth, then you're not going to get something that's going to be long lasting. You may be able to turn something around for a short period of time, but it's going to crumble because it's not built on the solid foundation.
Of the truth. That is so good, Tony. Now, I don't want to miss the opportunity. I don't want to change subjects because I actually love this conversation. I could dig into it, especially from a corporate standpoint, for a lot. But I love that because that is part of the characteristic, obviously, of manifestation and the truth of being able to reiterate over and over again to yourself the positives, whether it be, and I love that you said this, whether it be in a company or personally, if you're trying to accomplish something and get somewhere in your life, to be able to reiterate to yourself over and over again the good, the positives, the power in your abilities to get to the next level of wherever you're headed and reinvent yourself. So many people out there miss that, and the power of just manifestation and saying positive things and thinking positive things and how much that can benefit you as you walk through life. So thank you for that. But I don't want to miss the opportunity to talk. You're the founder of the Modern Solutionary Society. It's a community. Can you give me some insight on that and what are some of the things that the society is doing and can help with?
Well, the Modern Solutionary Society is just a group of people that read my first book, and I have an active blog that these people come to, and it's just a way for us to stay connected to Solomon's principles. So these blogs, the topics range from anywhere from personal to professional to spiritual. And it's there for the users or the readers of the book that want to stay growing in the knowledge that Solomon started. What's kind of cool about Solomon, he was one of the first judges, and he was the first judge that opened his courtroom to the public. He wanted the people to come in and hear the testimony of people when he had to judge something. He wanted them to see the mistakes people made so that they could learn from the experience, so that they didn't have to do the same thing. Because this was in 940, 960 BC, a long, long time
Yeah.
ago, and people still made stupid decisions, and we're still making those same decisions that we made 900, well, almost 3,000 years ago.
Wow. Tell us the website they can go to read the blog.
ModernSolutionary.com.
Okay, modernsolutionary.com. Now, you've led a big professional life, but you also, if I recall, you teach martial arts, you play guitar, you've ridden motorcycles. That's quite a mix. How have those passions influenced like your outlook on discipline and freedom?
Well, I was blessed with some great mentors professionally, and these mentors of mine, they touch all three aspects of my life. And they're the ones that open my eyes to the realization that we have three different personas and how to keep those personas as tightly wove together as I could. And when you think back through the mentor relationships that you have, and especially myself, that it spans decades. Some of these mentors have moved into their afterlife by now, but thank God they wrote books that I still read and reread today. Some of these books have the wisdom that they bestowed on me face to face, but I have the ability to use that in my coaching so that I can direct people to these books and to the wisdom of my mentors so that they could take the information that they provided, the wisdom that they gave me in solving my problems. It's so nice to be able to pass that mentor on to other people. It's it's like they live on in today's life,
Wonderful.
and it keeps me grounded in them as well. So
That is
it is a beautiful
That
thing.
is so lovely. Are you still coaching today? Like, if someone
I
wanted to
am.
reach out to you, where could they do that? Is there an email or just is there a way to connect with you on the website if they're interested in
They
that?
can connect through the website. They connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a large following on LinkedIn.
Wonderful.
Feel free to reach out to me. It's Anthony Boquet, Boquet. So it's spelled a little different than the bouquet. But if they'd like to reach out to me, I'm not hard to find. All of my contact information is on LinkedIn, and they can reach out to me anytime.
I just love everything that you've shared with us. And I think many of our listeners can definitely align with some of the things that you've said. They may have questions, so they may reach out to you. So thank you for sharing that. And Tony, we've covered so much today on leadership, legacy, wisdom,
And I want to jump into the part of the kind of the fun part. Not that this wasn't fun, but we have this fun thing that we do called the drawer dash. But before we do that, is there anything else you want to share that's up and coming that you want our listeners to know about or be aware of?
No, not really. I have 2 books that have been published. Now that I'm retired, I do coaching, but I'm also retired, so I spend more time writing, so I will be coming out with some more books.
Wonderful.
One is a leadership book. All of the books that I write has a spiritual connotation as well as a personal connotation. Again, I believe in true balance. So any of my material that I produce will reflect that as well.
Love it. Okay. So we'll be on the lookout for that book, those future books coming out, and we will be able to find your books. Can we get them on Amazon?
You can.
Awesome. Okay. So there you have it, listeners. Now, listen, we're going to go through a little bit of fun with Tony called our Drawer Dash. It's a 60-second sort of quick truths. We spoke a lot about truth today and fun. I'm just going to run through it, kind of like rapid fire questions. Just say the first thing that comes to mind. And if it takes you time, it's okay. So, first question
Okay.
out of the gate, a quote or motto that you live by.
Oh, that's pretty tough because I use a lot of quotes
I
in
hear
my
you on
work.
that.
Uh,
What's one of your faves?
the one that comes to mind immediately is I've been up, I've been down, and I'll be both again.
Love it. Love it. And that is a good reminder. Now, what about a book that changed your perspective over the years that you've been going through?
That would have been The Rhythm of Life by Matthew
Rhythm
Kelly.
of Life by Matthew Kelly. Awesome. One thing people would be surprised to learn about you.
Oh, good question.
I know what mine was.
I'm a Cajun boy from South Louisiana. I've worked on shrimp boats. I've worked on oyster boats. So yeah, been uh, been a Cajun boy all my life.
Fabulous. Now, for me, when I read through and this is not stereotyping, but I was surprised that you're a motorcycle enthusiast, which I
Mhm.
gravitate to because my husband and I are as well. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
From the motorcycle
Nope,
aspect,
just in general in life. Best advice you've ever been given.
best advice I've ever been given is from my father. He says, "Fear will always be present. Don't run from it."
That's great advice. Fear will always be present. Don't run from it. I feel like I want to write that down. Your favorite way to unwind after a long week?
Just spend time with my family. I enjoy spending time with my wife. We've been married a very long time. She is my entire world, and any time I can spend with her is a blessing.
Love it. And last one, a small joy that never fails to make you smile.
My grandkids,
I love, I
without a doubt. I mean, that was without a doubt. It's something that's remarkable to see. You see your children in their children,
that's right.
and you're reliving your memories from your first child or from your children.
It's so
So
true.
it is super cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Should have had the grandbabies first.
Would have taught us a lot, but they probably would have
It
like,
would have. It
yeah,
would
like
have.
your mom said, the I love so much that just that in the beginning of our conversation that if parents, I wish parents and myself included could recognize the trauma that is impacted on our children, that over the things that we say or do or life experiences that we go through, if we as parents knew, hey, this is going to impact you and you're going to have to deal with this, that to me, that was just really powerful. It's not the norm, right? And for your mom to be so aware ahead of time and be able to share that with you guys so you can be prepared for it. Huge. Anyway, okay, here's a quick favor to ask for our listeners. We always do this at the end with all of our guests. It's called the Tiny Dare. And it's something that we ask our guests each week to just give our listeners one doable challenge that will help them live more clear, with more courage, more purpose. What would something they can put into play like right away? What would a tiny dare be that you could offer to our listeners and recommend they start?
I would challenge them to journal
Mm,
daily. I would ask them to journal, and most people don't journal because they don't think of what they don't believe they have anything to write. or they'll sit there thinking about their entire day and trying to put everything on paper. That's not practical. What one of my mentors taught me early in my career was to journal every evening. What's the one thing you have to do tomorrow? Again,
Okay.
not 5 things. The
Yeah.
one thing that before you finish your day has to be handled.
Love
And
that.
it doesn't have to be all personal, it doesn't have to
Mm-mm.
be all professional, and it doesn't have to be all spiritual. It should be based on the who you are as a person. So
Yeah.
sometimes one of them will be about business, one of them might be about spirituality, one
Yeah.
of them may be personal. Sometimes they're all business because
Yep.
I've had that kind of day to day. So it doesn't matter where you get it from, but try to keep your life balanced. And I find journaling those 3 things has impacted me greatly.
That is so great, Tony. I love that you gave us specifics because what I find hard and difficult personally, and I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with this, for me, journaling is like you said, I sit down and I think, okay, I'm going to journal. And I've tried and I've sat down with paper and a blank piece of paper and I'm looking at it going, hey, I don't know where to start. I don't even know how to make this evolve and put it on paper because everything that's up here can be scary and how to take it from here and put it on paper. Yikes. So thank you. That is so helpful to have 3 things to just focus on. So I hope listeners that you wrote that down. Tony, thank you so much for joining me today. You've reminded us, like I said before, wisdom isn't something we inherit. It is literally something we activate. And for everyone listening, final thought, take this into the week. What would change in your life if you focused less on the problems in front of you and more on the wisdom within you? Sit with that one. Remember, reinvention. It's the small unseen moments. It's the peace and quiet. That's when reinvention starts to happen. That's when you gravitate to take that one step, right? Have a good week and just know we'll be here with you again. Thank you so much. Take care.
All right, Sock Drawer family, that's a wrap on today's Drawer Dump. Big thanks to our guests for sharing their story and their heart with us. Until next time. Don't forget, life's too short for mismatched socks. Retire the ones with holes, inspire the ones that still shine. See you soon.